Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, February 8, 2026, time in Texas, about 1 p.m. Some of the things we'll cover: the sun and the increase in murder, and what's going on with the Nancy Guthrie case, President Trump and Greenland, and also some updates on Russia, Iran, China, and so forth. So, the sun continues to be quiet. We do have many large sunspots turning to face the Earth, and it's anticipated, it's likely we will see an increase in flares sometime this week. Ben Davidson on his Space Weather YouTube site brought out an interesting white paper tying the increase in murder, and it appears for most of the Earth, murder does increase when there's an increase in solar activity, flares, except where the South Atlantic anomaly exists. We know it's currently over South America, believed to be splitting to cover Europe and Africa, and then move to the U.S. So a dip in the Earth's electromagnetic shield called the South Atlantic anomaly. There's a difference in the increase in murder rates in this area where there's a dip in the shield. Murder goes up when there's an increase in cosmic rays. So this is another indicator or measurement that law enforcement can use to look at space weather as an indicator. Will they see an increase in murder? We know, we've heard for years, when there's a full moon, all the crazies come out. So another indicator that space weather does impact human behavior. So what's going on? And we have this. Atlas now is in a trajectory to interact with Jupiter, so it's far away from the Earth, but it's put out a new type of behavior. It's putting out an X-ray halo around Atlas. It extends out about 250,000 miles, believed to be an indicator of ignition. You know, many government, NASA, NOAA, JPL, the European Space Agency, have ceased, I noticed, trying to sell the people on Earth that Atlas is a comet. Now, this is coming out from a government agency that this X-ray halo is around Atlas and could indicate ignition. So that's going on. Also, NASA has a polar satellite that's so around the Earth, we have in the Earth a dynamo. It generates an electric field, and then a magnetic field, and then an electric field. It's a dynamo. Generates the Earth's electromagnetic shield that comes out at the poles. Well, NASA has a satellite called the Polar Satellite that's really designed to take information in the pole areas, and what they have detected is Earth radio signals, and they've had this information or escaping into space, going out from the Earth 120 light years. That's how far light can travel in 1 year. Historically, light speed is 186,000 miles per second. So how far can it travel in a year? Far. And 120 years? Yeah. Now, this was discovered in 1996, and hey, we were going to tell y'all. Okay, the government is going to tell us when they can no longer cover it up. So, yeah, this new information we've had since 1996. Yeah. But think about it. We've had on TV shows, I would say at least maybe in the 80s, certainly in the 90s, like these sci-fi shows, and they would pick up I Love Lucy shows being heard in space. So see, they're saying they picked it up in 1996, but hey, we saw that on TV much, much earlier than 1996. So that's going on. But yeah, our human radio signals, TV signals, are being heard by the ETs out in space. We have this now from Eruptions Now. This is another indicator of the change in climate we are experiencing on Earth. I believe it's not human generated. I didn't buy that when I was first studying it in the 90s. It just didn't make sense. So that's largely been discredited. Human activity does not impact our Earth. It can impact, certainly on a local level. You have a factory that's putting mercury into a river, yeah, that's an environmental impact, local. But I'm talking about our layers of atmosphere above the Earth. Yeah, human activity does not impact that high up. And what we're having now on Earth is climate change, because we're seeing changes in space. We're seeing changes in our electromagnetic shield. Yes, we are having climate change. And it's also being put forth, and there does appear to be real science attached to that the Earth is tilting. So yeah, climate change, baby. Now, this is happening in California. So they have along their coastline, like mountains, and they have highways. One big highway is called Highway 1, Big Sur, that is now falling into the ocean as a result of climate change bringing about atmospheric rivers. Now, we recall, we've heard from several sources, yes, we have climate change. Yes, our shield is becoming weaker, and it's letting in more particles of radiation from space. But these are also more particles, so they collect more water. And our atmosphere now can hold 2 to 10 times the amount of water that it historically carried. That's why these atmospheric rivers are now hitting California from the Pacific Ocean side and taking down mudslides, highways, and so on. So that's going on. 40-foot walls of mud, a saturated soil, atmospheric rivers. Yeah. Hundreds of miles of the highway also have fallen into the ocean. Big sinkholes, and many miles of Highway 1, Big Sur Highway, has washed away. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah, Texas opens in America a visionary type plant. This opened in Midland, Texas. And it is to take oil field waste and process it to produce lithium, and to be used for, lithium batteries, and also to be used in national defense. So way to go, President Trump. And we have this. So President Trump last week, he raised tariffs on nations buying oil from Iran. Part of his takedown of Iran is to do it non-kinetically through taking down their economy, which impacted China, Turkey, and some other nations who were trying to buy shadow oil. And President Trump has also put forth a nominee to take Jerome Powell's place as head of the Fed in May. And President Trump continues to say he wants the Fed to lower interest rates. The Pentagon has stopped all ties and money to Harvard. President Trump has put up a new website. It's called Trump RX. RX is a symbol for therapy, and this is to provide low-cost medications to American citizens. So President Trump's move in this direction is to take down Big Pharma. And we have this. President Trump is waiting 6 more days for Congress to end the funding for the Department of Homeland Security. Then, when it's no longer funded, he can restructure it. Way to go, President Trump. Part of the deal. And we have this. So we have an economist, Peter Schiff, talking about the U.S. stock market. So we see gold and silver going up. We see futures going up in gold 11%, silver 20%. We see many stock market, stock and bond holders on the stock market selling, not buying. We see many gold and silver mines inside the U.S., including Hecla, refusing to make delivery of physical gold and silver to the Comets. The Comets is I believe that's in Chicago, holds physical gold and silver. So that's going on. You can have paper silver, but not the real thing. And in China, Shanghai, the current rate for gold is $5,500 per ounce, silver $120 per ounce. Now let's recall. JP Morgan Chase moved their entire gold and silver and precious metals traders and their families from Chicago around Thanksgiving to Singapore. What did JP Morgan Chase know about gold and silver all the way back to Thanksgiving? Just saying. Okay, we have this. From Dr. Michael Salla, a recent interview of Laura Trump, married to President Trump's son, Eric. Talking about President Trump may release information called disclosure about ETs and so on. I've seen one date to be July 8, I believe. So we'll see. Now we have more information about Diego Garcia. Now we've been hearing about the Epstein impact. So we have Epstein papers. And Epstein put out information about a UK, he was a U.S. ambassador to the U.S., Mandelson. And he was put in place by Keir Starmer. He's currently the UK Prime Minister. Well, we're hearing all kinds of information came out from Epstein about Mandelson having involvement with Epstein and Keir Starmer knowing that Mandelson had frequent contact with Epstein. I believe went to his island even after Epstein had been charged with pedo activities. So the UK people have been raising Cain about this, and TOUSI TV this morning put out that Keir Starmer and his aide McSweeney have resigned. So that's going on, and that's good for the U.S. because Keir Starmer wanted to sell Diego Garcia a strategic island. So we have India, Iran, strategic U.S. military base. It's strategic for the UK also. He wanted to sell it to the island of Mauritius, which is off of the African coast, that's controlled by the CCPs. So Keir Starmer, that was a traitor to both the U.S. and the UK. Well, then all of this Epstein information came out, was really played up by both the U.S. and UK mainstream media. And it's believed that Keir Starmer and his assistant, McSweeney, have resigned. So way to go, President Trump. Art of the deal. Now we have this tragic information coming out. This is a very sad case. So we have in Arizona, Tucson, I believe, we had the house of Nancy Guthrie. She's 84. She's the mother of Savannah Guthrie, who is a Today anchor on NBC. Now, this is Sunday. So I believe it was like Monday or Tuesday. No, it was last Sunday. Last Saturday night, not yesterday, but the previous Saturday, Nancy Guthrie had dinner and family night with her grown children who lived close to her. Then she was dropped off at her house. Then she had an outside camera on her porch. About 2 a.m. or so, that camera on the porch went blank or was taken down. It disappeared. It was not to be found. Also about this time, 2:20 a.m., Nancy Guthrie had a pacemaker and she had an app on her phone that would pick up her pacemaker activity, and it said it stopped syncing to the phone. So I'm assuming the phone was left, but Nancy Guthrie was moved. They also found a small amount of blood on the front porch, the FBI, and they identified it as Nancy Guthrie's. Then a couple of 2 or 3 days, that was not yesterday, but the previous Saturday, on Sunday, maybe Monday or Tuesday, the 3 Guthrie children, Savannah, her sister Annie, and her brother, put forth a made-for-TV talking to the kidnapper, and they wanted proof of life. So one person has been arrested out of California for putting forth a fake ransom note. He wanted billions of dollars, millions of dollars in Bitcoin. That was fake, and he's been arrested by the FBI. Then, today is Sunday, yesterday, Saturday, maybe Friday night, the FBI goes back to the house and closes off the street, has the reporters move out of the street. The FBI then puts up a ladder to the top of Nancy's house. They go up there and get another camera. Apparently, it was along the gutter edge of the roof. It's hoped that this will provide more information. And then we had Megyn Kelly and ASHLEIGH Banfield and NewsNation putting out new information today that there's a possibility a TV station last night about 10 o'clock, KOLD, received some type of a ransom request, but it was odd how it came in to the TV station. It came in just on their comment section, you know, like KOLD would put out some information. What is your comment on this? And it left no return address. So that's going on. And in the last couple of days, the FBI had warrants, and they have picked up and taken in for processing 2 vehicles. One belongs to the mother, Nancy Guthrie, and one belongs to the daughter, Annie Guthrie. And we had also information from a local Circle K in the area. The FBI contacted them for information about their cameras. And the FBI is in possession of the Circle K video that would have been relevant to the time of kidnapping. So it's good to be in prayer for the Guthrie family, and especially for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, who has pacemaker. She's been away since she was last kidnapped last weekend from her medicine she needs on a daily basis. So those are the updates on that case. And now we'll switch to what's going on in the world of Russia, Ukraine, Iran, China. So many possible areas for war activity. Now, recently in Russia, so we have Ukraine, we've got Europe, then we have the Middle East. We had a deputy negotiator, you know, a general who would put together information or actually engage in negotiating for Russia with Ukraine on ending the war. So Ukraine decided to assassinate him, and his name is Alexeyeva. So he's a Russian general, a deputy negotiator, and we had, so I've got 2 sources on this, CHRISTEFEROU and Alexander MERCOURIS. So this happened a few days ago, and in the apartment building also lived, who had been there for 2 months, a woman from Ukraine, apparently part of their Ukraine intel group, whose job it was to watch the general, find out what his movements are. She's since returned to Ukraine. Russia knows her identity, but she is now back inside Ukraine. The general was shot 3 or 4 times, I believe, in the back. But and he was taken to the hospital, and we have an update that he is conscious, and it's believed he will, heal and revive. Now, Russia has caught 2 of the 3 perpetrators. This woman, assassin assistant, she's back in Ukraine. And they have also, right after the assassination took place, the Russian FSB, that's the new name for what had been the KGB, it's now called FSB, tracked the gunman to a airport in Russia. Obviously he had already taken off from the airport, and he went to the UAE in the Middle East. Well, while he was en route, Russia called the UAE police, and they got him at the airport, took him off of the plane he came in on, and took him to another plane and flew him back to Russia. So that's going on. And then a third assassin assistant has also been captured. So the woman's name in Ukraine is Zenita Britskaya, and she's Russian and born in Ukraine. We have another Russian who was also born in Ukraine, who had been in the Russian Navy, who assisted in the assassination, Viktor Vasin. He's also been arrested. And the gunman who did the actual shooting, Yubarov Korba, he's also been arrested. So that's going on. And now we have this. We have from what's going on in Iran. So President Trump has put tariffs. So we have Iran. He's put tariffs on anyone buying Iranian oil. The U.S. is also tracking and will block 14 vessels that Iran owns and they use to ship oil. And then President Trump recently made a deal with India. Part of this deal is to not buy Iranian oil. It's also to use more U.S. dollar instead of the BRICS system. President Trump arted the deal. So we have that going on. And, but Keir Starmer, has resigned. And we had a recent meeting between the U.S. and Iran with Iran's Foreign Minister Araghchi. And he says Iran will not have another meeting with the U.S. unless we can know that the U.S. will be fair and equitable. Otherwise, there's no deal with Iran. These people, I believe, in Iran, this theocracy, religion running the government, the Ayatollah, the mullahs, the IRGC. Personally, I don't believe these people are in touch with the real world. So that's going on. And now we have this, China. So President Trump has been successful in persuading the Panama government to end 2 port service contracts around the Panama Canal that had been held by China through Hong Kong C.K. Hutchison. Bloomberg reports China lost its leases. We have this from, about China, from Discern Report on Steve Coyle's aggregate site. So reporting from Epoch Times, yes, Congress had a recent hearing, and this was about China and their treatment of religion inside China. And China continues to target, put in prison, or kill, or do organ transplant. They don't transplant. They just take the organs and sell them. And they do all this against Christians, Uyghurs, Muslims, Buddhists, Falun Gong, plus. And they arrest these people because they're practicing a religion. The CCP has put out the CCP Bible, and it is the CCP who is God in China. According to the 12 families that run China, of which President Xi, is a member of the 12 ruling families. That's how he got to his position. So yeah, and the Chinese government also burns down churches, mosques. That's going on, but the U.S. is having a congressional hearing about it. Possibly that will impact our relationship with China. And we have this about Neville Singham. He's a tech billionaire, CCP, who also pays agitators inside the U.S., as does George Soros. Now, this Neville Singham has been tied by the U.S. Congress to companies in Shanghai, Starstream, and Macau. And Macau is the primary company to put forward CCP propaganda. It's been identified as the propaganda maker technology by the New York Times. Congress calls on Singham to be investigated as a CCP agent. So that's going on. And we have this. Now, I put forth recently that, according to my sources, the U.S. owns Greenland. So, it seems like Canada and France have opened consulates in Greenland. So, what can we do? We can just welcome consulates from France and Canada to the newest territory of America, Greenland. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.